Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My guest is Marilyn Wilson. She was with me a few years ago. It's been a while. Can't believe how the time has flown. But in the meantime, she's been rather busy. She's done this beautiful book called The Wisdom of Listening. And it's pieces of gold from a decade of interviewing and stories that she's put together. And, here we have that wonderful parallel. I know that from the interviews that I've done through the years, those ones that stay with you, that wisdom, that inspiration, those things that just go, the aha moments. And it really is something that we learn from other people's stories. It is those nuggets, those golden nuggets that we carry with us that inspire others and help you take the journey of life. So we're going to share some of those nuggets today, but also the journey that she's taken of 10 years of writing these stories, of interviewing other people, and what it actually means, what's meant to her, what it's meant to other people, and why storytelling, sharing other people's stories is so very, very important. Because it is, folks. We get inspired, we learn from one another, and it's a sense of community, that we're not alone. Other people have gone through what you're going through, and this is how they got out of it or got through it. And it's that support of each other. So sharing those stories is very, very important, isn't it, Marilyn?
It's absolutely important. And what's really interesting, when I started doing this, I was ahead of the trend.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started, nobody else kind of thought, they just wanted to interview famous people, or it was all about fame. And when I started doing it, it was about the story. How did you get from where you began to where you are now? And all of a sudden, about 3 or 4 years ago, I started going places and people were, she talks, come and share your story. And everybody's talking about the importance of sharing your story and getting out there and recording these things. And I've got goosebumps right now because it was such a validation that the road I took,
Yeah.
11 years ago now,
Right.
was the right one. It was the beginning of a movement. And I still am hoping we will move a little bit away from reality TV as it is and start to share more, like with the Chef's Table and shows like that, start sharing regular people's stories that are interesting. I'm hoping Netflix will do this for me one day.
Yes, yeah. And actually, we are kind of actually seeing that in some things where, I'm a network. So, I have other hosts and other people sharing stories and wisdom as well. I've got 1,900 collective shows here. When I first started 6 years ago with a show, pressed all the wrong buttons. It was live, everything that went wrong. I had no idea 6 years later with my own network, 1,900 collective shows, and realized I've done 1,000 of them. Wow, how did that happen? I wouldn't do anything else. We've gone now into video, not just audio. But, what I've learned, what I've been inspired, what I've learned about me through doing these interviews, it's, it's cheap therapy, isn't it?
I have to share a comment. My editor was going through my book and reading a chapter, and I talked about how insecure I was and how I lacked confidence and the real struggles I had with self-esteem, and how I learned from people. And her comment was, perhaps this is the best therapy you could have chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, yes, it was. It's taken me from somebody with no confidence to somebody who's solid in who I am. So yeah, it was therapy for me as well. And I love hearing people's stories. So it was a win-win situation.
I think the beautiful thing about the way we're telling the stories is, we were talking about before the show of ageism. And, if you're on mainstream media or even in magazines doing everything is about, the way you look and how young are you and are you appealing to the millennials and the hip people. And, I would say, I'm telling ordinary people's stories that are living an extraordinary life. And the fact that there is no age, the youngest I've had is 9, the oldest is 85. And each one of them has bought those beautiful nuggets. If we start just stereotyping people into age or sex or price bracket, looks, we're so limiting that wisdom, aren't we? And this platform has just blown that away. We don't care how old you are or where you're from. It's the story that we're interested in.
Well, things are changing, and we have to remember as a Western culture, we're not in line with the indigenous culture. I
Right.
went back to support somebody doing a show at Dreamcatchers, which is a First Nations organization in Canada, and the elders were featured, and the elders were performers, and the younger ones would come on stage and support them.
Yes.
But there was huge amounts of respect for wisdom, and whether you do everything your elders say or not is one thing, but we've flipped it almost to where we think only the young people are interesting and the old people are on their way out and know nothing. And I'm hoping this trend will help open young people's eyes to the fact that no, there's something to learn at every age and something to share at every age. And I, in general, almost never interview anybody under 40 because I don't find, I call it, they're not cooked yet. Their soup is not cooked. There's not, like my life changed at 50. That's where I actually became interesting. So I do have a few that I've interviewed in their 20s and 30s that are just very exceptional in that they were focused from a young age. But in general, I turn down most interviews unless you're at least 40 years old. And that's where the interest starts for me. That's where the depth of the journey is. There's not one thing to learn. There's 20 things to learn.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. And of course, in other cultures and the rest of the world, the elderly are the wise ones.
Yes.
They are revered for that knowledge. They're respected for their journey because you wouldn't be at the path you're on today had they not laid the path before you. But it does seem to be a North American thing where, it's only the youth. I have interviewed some young people that have blown me away.
Yes.
But as you say, they're purpose driven.
Yes.
They have a conscience. They want to step out there and make changes in the world, and they're doing documentaries or they've written books,
Yes.
and that they really are the motivators, and they give you such hope because you can see that they're very generally interested in learning, in loving, in sharing. But it is absolutely wonderful to interview people who are older, who are on their third, fourth, fifth chapter in life.
Yeah.
I retired from that job. I'm now doing what I love.
I tell people every 4 years I change jobs because I this, but this audience may not. Is my original love was psychology, and I was working on my master's in counseling and drug abuse when I realized it was just too negative a career. But I've always been fascinated by people. And it was 50 before I found my career. So that's when I became interesting. I think we must take some responsibility as elders as well, that, and it's in my new book, is the chapter on mentorship, is that when we pass on wisdom, it needs to be without attachment. Where we in the Western culture love to tell them what to do.
Yes.
Sharing wisdom really isn't telling people what to do.
It's inspiring them.
Inspiring them and giving them information, which they then take and put through their own filters to find their answers.
Right.
So I think we in the Western culture as elders also need to be more thoughtful in how we pass on our wisdom and do it without judgment. And I always say without attachment. In other words, here it is, do what you want with it. I think it'd be a little easier for them to take.
I think so. Well, I did it that way, so you should too. We're not buying that. I don't think any age is buying that anymore. But
I didn't buy it.
No, so I never bought it. But I think when you hear something that's so inspiring, and it's like, you did what? You overcame what? You went through what? How did you do it?
Yes.
It's inspiration for invitation, and that invitation is to know more. What tools did you use that I could put in my backpack of life?
Yeah.
And then along the way, you meet those people that, you've got this far, bravo, let's help you a little further. You've still got to walk the journey. But when you're open to receiving that wisdom and that knowledge and that support and that cheerleading along the way, that journey could be awesome.
Yeah. When I started out, I struggled a lot, and then I began to collect stories of people who started at a later age because I felt I'd started too late. I'd never get it all done. And my favorite was, I think it's Harry Bernstein, who wrote, I think, over 30 books during the years, and all of them ended up being thrown away. Nothing got published. And when his wife died, he was 92, and he was very lonely. They've been married, I think, over 60 years. He decided to write just to fill the void.
Mm-hmm.
And a year and a half later, his first book was published, and it received critical acclaim. He ended up writing 4 before he passed away at the age of like 102 or 103. He got a writing residency from a university, and was highly recognized for his writing. He declared the 90s the most productive years of his life. And when you read stuff like this, you think, okay, so I started at 50. It's okay. I'm starting.
I've got 40 years to go. Yes.
I've got time.
Mm.
You know, there was another lady in Russia who wrote folk stories. Her daughter had passed and done some illustrations, and so she wrote folk stories using her daughter's illustration, and she started selling them on the street. Nobody in the Russian winter,
right,
let her sell them, and they got so popular. Now she is an established author that's invited to speak, but she stood there with her little handmade books out in the Russian winter. So she was also much older than I was when I started. And so I continue to collect these stories just to remind myself we can be productive and move to new things all our life. Will I write for the next 20 years? I really don't know. I may find when I finish the books on my table, it's time to find
something else to do.
A new door open. Like I said, I used to change every 4 years. I've been doing this for 11 years now. This is a very long run for me.
But it's so diverse. There's so much in there that it keeps your interest. You know, it's been 6 years for me now, and 5 years in June coming up with my own network. But now we're branching off. We're specializing, and we've gone going into our second book, also going into philanthropy, and so it's this was my niche. This is what I had to do, but where else could I take it? Yes. And that's, you know, now the next chapter in Self-Discovery Radio is where are we going next? Hence videos, and of course much more to come. And I think that's the thing is in the past we would have been dictated, but no, you're too old to grow. You know, you should be winding down by now. And I think, well, if there isn't a purpose in your life to get up for every day, what's the point of living, you know? And if I can add something more to the pot that makes the dish even better, then why shouldn't I?
Well, you need some reason to get up. I you know, my husband is now retired, and he says, well, aren't you retiring? And I said, no, I just started because I stayed home with the kids. But more than that, what would I do every day? When I get up? I mean, I don't like cleaning house all day. I don't like, there's nothing I like enough to fill my day. And so even if I quit writing, there will be a new point, and it will be something I love. Retirement should be about embracing your passions and things that inspire you. And if you get up and it inspires you, then it is retirement to me. Yeah. It's the freedom to do what you want and to make a difference in whatever way you're led to. I hope I get to travel more. Maybe I'll go into travel writing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good reason to go and travel.
I don't know what the future, well, but that feeds into my theme of celebrating diversity. What is the world like? What is the culture? If I travel right, I'll never talk about the hotels. I'll talk about diversity and the joy in it and what was new and different. So I think you always stay the same, but how that gets expressed, it can change over the years. And instead, when we wind something down, we think we're done. No, you wind something down because something new is winding up. You're making time for the next wave to hit you. And it could be a tsunami. And just because you're older doesn't mean those waves don't come. They still come.
My 85-year-old is known as the Pink Lady. And that's because her husband, they were in retail and clothing, and for an ad campaign he put her all in pink and called her the Pink Lady, and it got stuck. And then when he passed, she kind of sold the empire because I think she was somewhere in her 70s at that point. And she goes, but what now? And so what she did, she invested in veteran performers and started a veteran performers group. And so people that consider too old to do the splits on the stage now and sing and dance, there is an entire beautiful Broadway type show thing that she's created for them. That's kind of keeping them alive. And she doesn't perform herself, but she comes out in all her pinkness and her boas, and they sing to her. And she's 85. And the thing I came away with from her, not only the fact that the passion and the love of what she does, her chutzpah. She had
Yeah.
chutzpah. And I thought, I need a little of that in my life.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm not even sure, I've always had lots of chutzpah. Sometimes in a negative way, but I find as I'm getting older, what I'm allowing myself is more quiet time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm allowing myself to say no and not be as busy.
Yes.
And then I'm really enjoying the things I do embrace.
Right.
And I'm making time, even for this book. I had to make time. I had to just say I'm putting everything else aside because I feel very driven to share all the things people have been handing to me, and I can't continue to write in chaos. And so
Mm.
I'm creating calm, and that's okay. I don't have to run to work from 8 to 5. I don't
Right.
have to. I don't have to go anywhere. And so I have given myself permission to start saying no to not being so driven to be visibly at every event,
Right.
to fill so
Pick
many
and
needs.
choose.
I say no
Yeah.
to my family now. I say, this week, I can't help you.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, all my kids are grown, but still there are times they reach out for help, and it's okay. And that's what I love about this part of my life. I'm suddenly not carrying everybody. I'm not
Right.
running everywhere. I'm not making everybody's day. But when I do step in, it's with real purpose and
Yeah.
with 100% of myself. And I'm giving quality over quantity now, and saving the bulk of time for me. And it's a lovely thing to do. It's the first time in my life I've really given myself permission to be 100% first.
Yes. That was me last year when kind of left a relationship, left a arena where I was near kids or anything else, went to Toronto, thought I'll give it a try, cold as winter, thank you. And then I said, if I'm, coming back to BC, it will be the island. And I have a daughter in Nanaimo, which is about 2 hours away, and I came to Victoria, which is a beautiful place. And, my son would always be saying to me, because he's in Discovery right now, but it's an inside job, Mum, something he've actually heard me say. And yes, I said it's an inside job, and I've raised my vibration, but I realized where I wasn't matching that vibration, and I needed to go somewhere else where it matched it. Victoria is it for me. But the beautiful thing is I'm a ferry ride away from him, a 2-hour car ride away from my other daughter. My
Yeah.
other daughter's the butterfly traveling the world. So, and it was the first time in 37 and a half years that the only person I needed to be responsible for or worry about was me.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean you don't worry and everything else about them, but it's like, it's me now investing in me and what I want to do and where I want to go without feeling the pull that I should be looking after this or I should be doing that. And I think for a lot of people who are changing in that transition of life where they've been kind of the caregiver or they've always been of service to other people, for them to say, turn it on you now.
Yes.
Start nurturing you now. And I think for a lot of people, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of these stories, it's a tough transition for some people,
Yes.
isn't it?
Oh yeah. I used to go to every event I was asked to. I used to go to support everything I could. And when I started to say no, it was a big change for the industry that supported me.
Mm.
And it took about a year. Like I said, my kids are grown, so they were pretty good with it, but it's still a surprise. And I began to put my foot down about a lot of stuff, and I got odd looks. But you know what? That year was worth it. It was
Yes.
worth it. And if I could go, like you always say that, if I could go back, what would I do differently? I would have found a way, even when I was raising kids, to make myself a priority at time, because I never did. And so what that leads to is burnout. I wasn't as good a mother as I could because I was always running on empty.
Yeah. And
And
discontent because you didn't have a personal, everything is kids, 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 marriage, marriage, marriage. There was nothing a purposeful thing for you. So there's always that disconnect from you, isn't there?
Yeah, yes, there is. And I didn't even know what I wanted. I didn't know. All my friends came from the other mothers at school, and those were not good choices for me. It took me a long time after the kids didn't need me to even figure out who do I want as friends.
Yeah.
I moved a lot, so I don't have the friends I grew up with. So who do I want as friends? And I think if there's anything I learned during interviewing, it led me to this journey where I began to figure out who is my tribe and how much downtime do I need to do what I do. And I'm ADD. You wouldn't think I'd need a lot of time, but I do. If I keep too busy, my mind races and I don't
Yeah.
really give anything quality time.
Right.
So yeah, it's been an interesting. I wish I could go back and have given myself just a little more permission to
Yeah.
be selfish. I would serve family dinners. I would cook. I would set the table. I would clean. I would do the dishes, and everybody sat and had tea and coffee.
Yeah.
They would have helped if I asked.
Yes.
You know, some of this I brought on myself. And
Yes.
so, but I was just brought up to be of service. My dad was a minister, and I was brought up that service was the most high thing you could do. And we weren't really taught how to take care of ourselves and how to give our best by being solid.
Yeah. Recharging ourselves. It's like, so this is what happened to me, depletion, because it was give out, but where was the replenishment of myself?
Yep.
You know, because it was always, you know, I always say instead of service, I was going into servitude, you know, becoming the servant. It's a duty, it's a servant. What do you mean put yourself first? You know, it doesn't want it in the dialogue at all. But then what happens when we burn out and we get sick? And it's like, well, why did you let this happen to yourself? You know, so.
I think it was a shock for my family when I hit the wall. It happened a couple times. Fortunately, not till my kids were on their feet. But it's always a shock because you never let them think.
Yeah.
Stretch to the limit.
You're indestructible.
And they found me way too intense. And if I could have made time for myself, I could have relaxed a little more and worried and tried to solve everything. They didn't want me to solve everything.
Right.
But I had to.
Yeah.
So yeah, this whole journey through interviewing has been the best therapy. I come back to that. I've learned so much and met great people and put a good support system in place. And in fact, this book came about. The book. We're going to mention it.
Yes, hold it still. Hold it still so people can see it.
It's called The Wisdom of Listening: Pieces of Gold from a Decade of Interviewing in Life.
It's a beautiful cover, by the way. So many times I see dark covers. I'm so happy you went for the joyful, cheerful colors. It's really inviting.
We'll talk about the cover because it's a story.
Okay.
But I'm part of this Heart-Led Living group, and we have weekly call-in sessions. And I had been struggling to write life outside the box too, because what I do is share other people's stories. So that's obviously what's next. And in the back of my mind, I had a passion project that I thought, you know what, it would be fun someday to share all the little bits of wisdom I've got. So when I finish this book, maybe I'll allow myself the privilege of having some me time and writing my own thoughts, and it wasn't working. I got one chapter nailed out, and then I was just stalling on the second chapter. And I'm in this Heart-Led Living group, and I'm listening to people do call in and talk about problems. And all of a sudden I thought, I have to write this book first. And that was not acceptable. I had told myself, it's a reward, a permission, if I do this, I get that. And so all I could think to do was to come down to the computer and lay out the book. So I open a Word doc, I put the title page, I put the copyright page, I write some chapters down, maybe I'll write the back cover, and then I'll put that away and I'll be able to write the other book. And it didn't work that way. As soon as I started writing, it poured out of me like a geyser. I could not stop. I would this has never happened. I write in great anguish many times. It's very technical what I do. It doesn't pour out. So anyways, I would sit here for 6 hours and my fingers are going and I'd forget to eat. And 3 weeks later, I had the book laid out. And about partway through, I sent this extremely, very messy, very stream of consciousness document to about 5 people I knew. And they knew my brand. They knew what my first book was about. And my question to them was, should I put this out here? Like, is this just a pipe dream? Like, it's just me spewing my thoughts on paper? And one lady cried. One person said, this is what you need to brand yourself. And I mean, everybody that came back, even though it was in horrible shape from an editorial standpoint, that it was a way to go. And it was very validating. Unfortunately, here I am still a year later trying to get it into print. It's in typeset now. But what a joyous thing to allow myself to be led, because this was the next book that needed to come out, but I was still in parent mode. You may not write a book that's fun to write until you write the second book you promised everybody you were going to write. And I am old enough now to give myself permission. Direction
for you to choose when things
so,
are going to
so
be.
That was the joy of this book. The other books I write are very technical because I'm writing for notes and I have to get a lot of feedback, but the editing process is, because once I've got their approval, I don't care what the editor says. Okay, sure. This one, because it's so personal, it's my story scattered across it and my insecurities, was real. And the way it was written was very hard to edit, because as we began to edit, then you began to see the shape of it and what was wrong with it. It did not get written in a nice, neat format. So, and then the cover, I don't do well with covers. And so the first one I ended up leaving to a graphic artist and my publisher. I finally said, take it, just take it away. And the second one, this one, I was talking with my publisher and we came out with some ideas, and I went to a illustrator I know with these ideas and talked with her, and she said, I can work with that. And I said, well, have fun with it. And she came back and it didn't work. It looked like a religious textbook.
No.
It didn't have the same colors. They were watery and stuff. And that was last August. And that was one of the reasons I was really overwhelmed with the contract I had taken on for Eco Fashion Week Australia. And I thought, I need to walk away from this book until I figure out what the cover needs to be.
Right.
And so I came back in January and started searching all over the internet for watercolor artists just to see what was out there. And most under the term of listening were headphones, you know. And all of a sudden I found this one, and I think it's called Listen to the Silence Underneath the Sounds. I actually have the original picture.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
And so I was able to get permission, paid her for the rights to use it, to adapt it for a cover, and worked with a graphic artist who did my last book, and he came up with this, and I adore it.
Yes.
But also I'm giving promotion to an artist she's from Poland. I love the internet.
Yes, isn't it wonderful?
Deviant art. And so I'm giving promotion to a graphic artist. I'm giving promotion to the original artist. I'm giving promotion to the editor. I love the fact that a book brings so many people together to make it happen. I may get the words done, but the editor polishes, the typesetter makes it look good. The people who do the cover art, my publisher does the book whispering thing she does, the book whisper. So it's very joyous now, and now I'm anxious for it to come out, and I have to wait till the typeset's done.
But the thing is, you know, these books that you're doing is kind of your trade, is what you've been doing. It's something that comes quite naturally to you, and it really does share the stories. But when it comes to sharing our story, this is actually somebody who called me up last year. You know, actually, I think January, and actually said to me, Sarah, you're telling everybody else's story. What's yours?
Yeah.
And I go, well, who wants to know no, I want to know your story. You've got to write your book. And I've had a number of people nagging at me to write my book. And I've tried, you know, I've done 2 or 3 chapters, and I've looked at it this way, and I thought, I'm bored with it, you know. And then I had a little idea, and I thought, okay, why am I telling a story from me? Instead, I'm actually going to share my story of coming back into soul from my angel's perspective. The angel was assigned me at birth, and then, oy vey, what did she get? And I thought, you know, I always kind of look at my life very often as a Monty Python skit anyway. So, you know, may as well make it light. And then I think it'll be easier to write. Yeah. Because I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and we were talking about friends and how you have to sever ties and things. And then I suddenly remembered, oh yeah, 18 years ago, I severed a tie with a friend that had been like a sister with me for 20 years, and I hadn't even thought about her in God knows how many years. And it's like, if you try to write a book, you know, there's things that you want to remember. But when you're so busy living your life in the now and looking forward to the future, a lot of things in the past just go, don't they?
Yeah. I don't remember a lot of my young years and youth. I was not very happy. And so
Right.
I find I have actually blocked a lot of that out.
Yes.
I never wanted to tell my story because I didn't think it was a very happy one.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've been doing my passion for 10 years. It's there's something to share. So what
Yeah.
I did instead, I don't want to write my whole biography.
No.
What I did instead was I gave a very shortened mini version in the first chapter. And then as I share all these pieces of wisdom through the book, I talk about where I was at the time and why this had such a profound effect on me. So the book even came about when I was interviewing fine artist Pamela Masick, because she was struggling with, even painting, feeling self-doubt. And she realized that art was helping her heal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a piece of gold in her pocket she could share with women on the downtown east side to help their life better. And she founded an art program for them.
Mm-hmm.
So ever since that moment, I have looked at audiences as people with gold in their pocket.
Yeah.
I can go diving in their pocket for wisdom. And so those are the kind of things that are shared. Somebody who I interviewed that I was feeling my hair wasn't good. My husband cut my hair. I had Zeller's clothes on, and I'm in this beautiful studio of this high-end designer, feeling terrible. Like I don't look the part. And she shared a story of her first fashion show and how she felt unprepared and how she was actually in the toilet throwing up in a stall afterwards, and heard women come in and say nice things about her collection. And so she said, it's okay where you start from. I came away knowing she was giving me permission.
Yes.
To be, so this book is filled with little pieces of gold like that. The idea of wabi-sabi came from a photographer. I said, where do you get your inspiration? He says, well, one place was the Japanese art of wabi-sabi, which is finding beauty in imperfection. And I got goosebumps, and I started thinking about it. And that's what was the first step on the journey to recognizing my imperfections are actually my talents.
Yes.
They don't need to be sanded off. They don't need to be changed. So this book has like 39 or 40 of these little things in here, and they all mean a lot to me. Putting out work you're proud of, not work you feel led to from a financial standpoint.
Right.
The pressure is there. If you're going to be on video, you have to do it this way. You have to look that way. We talked about this. No, you do the work you feel is important in the way you feel is important. So yeah, I'm really excited about this book coming out, albeit it's a little more intimidating. Now the reviews are going to be a little more intimidating. If someone doesn't like it, this is a little more personal this time.
Yeah.
But I truly feel it was the right thing to do and the right timing. And it's coming out when it's meant to. So, woohoo.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, I know that I've been told I have to write mine, but it's right now I'm too busy. And I know that it's just going to be, okay, it's now, boom, at the computer, and it will pour out, because I am that kind of writer. I'm not a technical writer at all. Everything just pours out. And it will be one of those things that isn't just an article or a blog, which I normally do, or carry on. And then it will be, oh, this is what you're doing. So I think that a lot of the things I think that we learn with age, through all these interviews, by meeting people, being willing to learn, is the surrender to allowing.
Yes.
Because we have that little blueprint. My desire is to do A, B, and C, but I cannot dictate exactly how or when or what format. It's allow it to happen. And when it's meant to happen, all of a sudden everything's properly aligned up, and there it is.
Yes.
But we're so used to in society forcing things, aren't we? It's got to be. No, it hasn't got to be. I did a show on doing or being. When we are in our beingness, what we do has so much more meaning and is so much more profound if we step out of just the doing all the time. And you were being this book. You were being yourself. You were sharing your beingness. So therefore, people are going to receive that in a way where you feel that you are actually talking from your heart and soul directly to them.
I hope so. I had to went through the editing process, and the first thing I said is, I need you to understand this book is different. I had the
Mm,
same editor. This is not telling somebody else's story. And so the voice I want needs to be as if I'm having a cup of coffee with you talking about these.
right.
This
Yes.
is how I started to share these stories, and I realized people wanted to hear them.
Yeah.
And so for the most part, I think I've been able to keep the language simple and use the words I would use if we
Yeah.
were face to face.
Yeah.
And so my friends say, yeah, it's like you're here telling me the stories, but will people I don't know that till it gets out there, because my friends are so connected with me that they hear me through the
Yes.
words. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
But again, it then goes also back to even, you know, the other work that you do. We can do an interview, we can share someone's story. One person will go, I don't get it. And another person will say, you're speaking to me. So,
Yeah.
you know, the thing is about an audience is it's going to speak to the people who are ready to receive it.
Yeah.
All right. And so when I go into a bookstore, and sometimes I'm looking for a particular book, but, you know, very often it's what book is looking for me.
Yeah.
And then you find that book, and that's what you need to read at that time.
Yeah.
And so someone picking up your book and hearing your story is something they're going to connect with, because you're actually reflecting very much what's within them that
Yeah.
they may have not given themselves permission yet to allow.
Well, it's a very human book.
Mm-hmm.
All my, we're looking under all the rocks. It's not negative. It's actually extremely positive,
Yeah.
but it's very humble. I
Mm-hmm.
would not be where I am if people were not so generous with their wisdom. I
Yes.
would not be where I am if I didn't have a strong group of friends and supporters. And that's something I didn't even acquire till the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
I have learned how to create a tribe. I have learned to accept myself, but it's come because somebody took my hand. There's one chapter in the book, and I don't think the lady hasn't read it. I've let her know I was doing this, and I haven't heard anything, so I hope she's happy. But I heard Victoria Maxwell speak at a Powerhouse speaker series, and she started with this hilarious story of running up the street, and we were all laughing, and then it ended with police taking her into custody. She was in a bipolar moment.
Oh no.
She was on a high, and so she went on from there, and she told it with great humor. But she talked about, you know, the negatives and the positives and acceptance. But what impacted me that day, that I could not help but share in this book because it still impacts me, is simply that she said the people who made the most difference in her life walked into her world, accepted her view of reality as it was,
Mm.
but also held open the door. I got goosebumps. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Held open the door of possibility for her so
Yeah.
she could see it until she was strong enough to hold it up herself, on the hope that she would choose to walk through it. You know,
Right.
you can't force people to
No.
do it, but that's what people did for me. When my first book finally went off to be printed, I was shocked. It was 18 months of self-doubt and starting and stopping and deciding I couldn't do this. And I posted it on Facebook because a lot of my community that supported me was there. And one guy came and said, I always knew this moment would happen for you. He held open my door of opportunity and
Yes.
my door of possibility when I really didn't have the strength myself to do it. He knew I could do it. And there are a lot of people in my thing that know I can do it. And so I don't delete that manuscript and I don't walk away because I want to prove that they're right.
Yes.
And I would not be where I am without the people in my life that said, it's okay, you're feeling insecure. It's okay, you've stalled out. It's all going to come together. You will publish. And wow, they're right every time. And hopefully each book that I publish, this will get easier and that I will accept it myself
And
better.
it'll be difficult every time because that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
But you'll forgive yourself and get over it quicker instead of it being so long.
But I still, what a powerful image that those who
Yes.
love us are holding open the door for us
Yes.
until we're strong enough to do it, until we have the confidence to do it. They see the future possibilities and they just stand there with the door open saying, when you're ready. Ooh, I love them.
You don't actually realize how supportive your tribe is, you know,
Yeah.
online or offline. I mean, I consider everybody I interview part of the family, part of the self-discovery family. And, in that, I'm always going to be supportive and celebratory of what they're doing. But there are times that, either doubt or this or that I've put out there, and the amount of support that I've got back,
Yeah.
or I've posted something and the response that I've got back, and especially kind of things like this video, putting out video. And it's because, of course, you are your worst critic.
Yeah.
The way you speak, the way you move your eyes, because as I said, I'm very animated when I speak. And it's, the response that you get back from people. And it's not people kind of brown-nosing you. It is people generally celebrating you. We've got to figure this is what we're doing. This is what we've both chosen to do in our lives, is celebrate people's journey. But it's so nice when other people actually recognize you're in a process of a journey as well, and you're stepping out of your comfort zone and you're stepping into something new, and to have them then turn around and kind of, it's not even a question about the validation, is it? It's about that support, your cheerleading crowd that is there supporting you on that journey.
One of the things I shared again in the new book was that when I lived with self-doubt, I surrounded myself with people who doubted me.
Yeah.
And when I began as Wabi-Sabi to recognize the things that I thought were negatives were actually my strengths, I just didn't know how to use them yet. And I learned self-love. I suddenly began to surround myself with people that reflected that same thing back. They can't change your view of yourself per se, but they reflect what you are choosing to view in yourself. And without that mirror, I mean, if you are going to feel crappy and surround yourself with people who think you're wrong, who think you need to be fixed, that you've got foot and mouth disease, you never finish anything. If you could just do this, people would love you. Oh, can't you be more feminine? Can't you be more loving? Can't you be more? If you surround yourself with those people, it's impossible.
Yes.
But it comes from you first. As soon as I changed my view of myself, I gave myself permission to have mirrors around me and friends that shine back the same thing. And they are so important to me. I don't know how I ever survived without them. And my husband and my family, and suddenly now I hardly ever get a bad cab driver right now.
Right.
I'm always shocked because I get in happy that he's there and they pick up on it, and next thing I know, we're having a great conversation. So I'm finding it comes from inside and shines out, and then it reflects back to you. So small changes will change the message you're getting back.
100%.
It's a journey that we each have to give ourselves permission. It's not being confident. It's not anything special. We all can do it because I came without the skills to do this.
Right.
And I still have days of big self-doubt. There's no doubt about it. But in the end, I choose to accept myself as I am. And because of that, I'm surrounded by people who accept me as I am. And when I get stuck, they give me that, give yourself patience. We believe in you. They don't have the answers. They just have the belief in me. And I think, well, if they do, I can.
Yeah.
If they do, I can. Doesn't make it easy, but it makes it doable.
I mean, I've been, obviously following you on Facebook forever anyway, but I've just absolutely loved all these fashion ones that you've been doing. And it's like, you rock, girl. You're out there with them, on that, strutting your stuff, letting people know you're here and you're gorgeous, and you're just really kind of showing the confidence and the love of what you're wearing, and you're owning it completely. And this whole thing about, oh, you've got to be this, you've got to be, no, we don't gotta be anything. The only thing that we should be is in truth with self. With that love of life and love of self, and reflect that out. And then no matter what we're wearing, how old we are, whatever our hair is doing, what people are going to see is the inner beauty that will then resonate and ripple out to everything else that you're doing. So I've really enjoyed very much watching you. What's she wearing now? Where is she? Who's around her? You have to tell people how that came about.
I know nothing about fashion. I do now, but I started out, my husband cut my hair. I didn't know how to put on makeup. All my clothes came from Costco and Value Village and what was Zellers. So Kmart would be the equivalent in the US.
Right.
And it didn't take long for me to realize I didn't fit in appearance. And I look back at my old photos and, oh my goodness, I look tired and I look older.
Mm-hmm.
And so I finally started working with a stylist at one of the designers, and every season for 8 seasons, now there's 2 seasons a year, so twice a year I would go in and we would pick out a few more pieces, and we slowly built this wardrobe. I would show up places and she'd rearrange my clothes.
Yeah.
And then it started to happen. It took a long time, but I started to figure it out because I was working. You can learn. Anybody can learn. So it was learned. And then my hairdresser was doing a pretty good job. It had a heart surgery, and I went to a friend of mine who is an artist. That's all I can say. And he looked at me and said, "We're going a different direction." So
yes, exactly. I know. I love it. I love it.
I gave up control of what my hair was going to look like. That was very hard for me.
Great. Just let it go.
But I get compliments all the time. There's times it's very short and I feel a little unfeminine. There's times it's longer. It always changes. But I've had people on bicycles stop and say, "Wow, I love your hair."
Mm-hmm.
And then in the middle of that as well, a very gifted lady looked at my horrible eyewear. And I mean, I've hated wearing glasses my whole life. And I go in and I can't see, are these going to work? Are these
I know, that's the thing. You can't see what they look like.
And I come home and you had your one pair of glasses that had to go with everything. And she said, let's change that. And so instead of picking them, I'd go in and she would lay out ones that would look good on me. And some would be very conservative and some would be very Edith head out there. Mm. But we started with what looked good on me, and she let me figure out where I wanted to go. Mm-hmm. So here we go. This is my everyday pair. I thought this would be fun. This pair is actually metal lace, but again, a little toned down, mm-hmm. a little more subtle. And now these are the ones I was going to wear at the start, but I don't anymore. I decided to go up to. You can see
I love
my fashion frames, and they go with this.
Yes,
and
exactly.
They have a little bit of red, so you try it in.
Yeah,
but it's become fun now.
Yes,
and I'm finally starting to add handbags, shoes. But I mean, it takes money, and I didn't have money, so it took time. It took listening to experts that knew what they were doing because they could see what I couldn't see. All I saw is the 115-pound. Skinny 17-year-old was now, we're not going to say how big, but basically the same size from hips through chest.
Yes.
And I had no idea what even looked good on me. I didn't want to be matronly.
Yeah.
I didn't want to look like somebody was trying to dress like a 12-year-old.
Right.
And so I learned. I mean, that's what this whole journey has been about. So when I go to Fashion Week now, there's one photographer that has worked with me a long time. And so I stand in front of the mirror at home and I figure out, usually I'm wearing local designs or people I know because I want to promote them. And I think of different ways I could stand. And then I go in before the doors open and he helps me pose and takes one really good picture. Mm-hmm. So all my pictures aren't that great. I post that one because I have someone who loves me and knows how to take pictures that make sure I get the best one possible. Yeah. And it's joyous to wear clothing and say, I got this from Lincoln Miller at 5 Left. I got this from Jack. I got this from what I'm wearing today. This is from KOME in North Vancouver. My clothes are my regalia. Yeah. And before I go out, I honestly, I stop and think who I am that night. Do I want to be loud? Do I want to be really quiet and just be in all black and not be that visible? Do I feel really up and energetic? And I give myself permission to wear whatever makes me feel
whatever your expression wants to be that night.
And what makes me feel good. Yes. If I don't want makeup on, that's hard with photography, but honestly, if I want minimal makeup, that's what it is. If I want no makeup, that's what it is. If I want to be fancy, if I want pants, I try to dress in a way that makes me feel confident and feel good. It's not about everybody else, it's about me. And over time, that's gotten easier. I also know what photographs well on me, so I go
Yeah.
within that range and pick it. But it was a good 8-year process to get where I am now, and an investment
Hmm.
in having a variety of frames and clothing. But everything, because I got advice, mixes and matches and goes together. My hair goes with everything else because I go to professionals
Right.
and let them help me. And again, I'm humble. Thank God for them. Thank God
Mm,
for Miles and Sue, and my hair guy, and Sue, my eye pick, and all the designers I wear. They love me,
mm.
and they take care of me, and they help me figure it out, because I didn't know. I just don't have a 17-year-old body anymore.
Right. But the other thing is that for it was only at the end of October that I started kind of getting out amongst people. For a good 3 or 4 years, I was kind of a recluse, just behind the computer
Yeah.
and hardly seeing anyone. And then, my wardrobe really was just for me hanging out with friends and family. But, I wasn't doing anything outside of the computer, and I was radio. So I could have been in my pajamas or naked and no one would
Yeah.
know, right? And, in packing everything up, it was like, do I really want this? I gave, I think, 4 or 5 big garbage bags of clothing away to
Yeah.
friends and whatever. Because I looked at it and if yes, it's beautifully tailored. Yes, it's this and that. A, my body's not the same. B, I can't wear that anymore. I'm not that same person.
No. Yeah.
And, I am a bigger woman, and also you get to that age where everything starts kind of going a different direction.
South.
Yeah, sagging, and but you also want to be comfortable. You want to reflect something that is you. And I think that's the really important thing, isn't it? It's finding that something that is complementary to who you are from the inside out, that it is a reflection of your inner beauty,
Yeah.
right? And it's, oh, I should be wearing this. This is fashionable. Oh, I should be wearing this because of that.
Yeah.
No, wear what you makes you feel beautiful. It's like I'm completely gray now. I don't dye my hair anymore. This is me now. It
Yeah.
takes a little getting used to, but it's like resistance is futile. I'm eventually going to be gray. It's there. Own it. Whereas I was always under the thing that, oh, no, no, you can't do this. You can't age quickly. You can't do that. And it's like, as Popeye says, I am what I am. You
Yeah.
can take me or leave me. I won't be offended, but this is me.
Yeah. It's just rearranging what's in your life so that when you
Yes,
walk in, you should love what's in your closet. And if you don't
yes,
love it, even with a stylist, I made some purchases I shouldn't have, because she was helping me figure out it looked
right.
good on me. But in retrospect, I realize now who I am, and it doesn't fit that. But
Yeah,
it's a journey. And again, clothes, hair, makeup are only there at your service.
yes,
They're just a reflection of who you're feeling inside that day.
yeah,
And if they make you feel good, if you're a big woman and you want to be in a pair of leggings, oh well, you might get some grief, but you know what? If it makes you feel
yeah,
fabulous, I so have learned clothes serve me.
yes,
And I my hair serves me, and if I listen to people, I can come up with new options. That's great if I don't like them, but I've gotten really brave. This has grown out for about 4 weeks now. I walked in, I said, okay, I'm ready for short. It was really short, and it looks great in all the pictures, but you come home, you think, oh, my wrinkles are going to show.
yeah,
but
yes,
but you have to be brave, and you have to be willing to put yourself out there, because once you figure it out, it's such a comfortable thing to walk in your closet. It's what do I feel like? I'm starting to dig in the back now for things I haven't worn in ages, and I now know kind of how to put some things together differently, and I have enough jewelry now that I can accessorize it. But it's not going to happen the first 6, unless you're just rich. It's not going to happen. It's a growing process. It
yeah,
took about 8, 9 years, and now when I put things in, they fit into my closet.
right,
They take my closet in a new direction, or
yeah.
like I'm feeling really drawn to bohemian clothing right now, and I have none. I
Well, very
know, I
bohemian what you're wearing
know.
right now, is it?
So um, I'm drawn because of, as you know, I took a contract with Eco Fashion Week Australia last fall, and I did all their social media, their designer interviews, and then I was allowed to create one of my own show, and I did an Eco Fashion Week upcycling challenge where I got 21 designers I'd seen on the runway here and had them each make one outfit out of reclaimed men's dress shirts, used men's dress shirts, and they sent it down, and I put this amazing runway show together. Very stressful for me a first time. But with all that exposure now, I find I'm drawn more to the natural fabrics or upcycled things. I'm trying to honor that part of my life and make that a bigger part of my closet. So your closet is going to change over time. But again, it should be things that fit in your lifestyle, that make you happy. So the bohemian clothes, often you can find them in linen. You can find them in these natural fabrics. So it is going to change over time, and you have to let go what no longer serves you. And it was your favorite skirt for 20 years. That doesn't mean you have to hold on to it. So my friend Denise Berlin, one day when I was talking with her about it, said, "Do you realize the clothing that you love are your regalia?" And I love that idea. A lot of them have stories. Like, I know the designers, I've interviewed them, or there's some story as to why I got this piece. So when I wear them, if people comment and I share the story, it's a conversation owner. But more and more clothes, and not all of them, a small percentage, but more and more clothes in my closet are my regalia, and they make me happy. And if I don't want to wear them anymore, there's a few pieces I'll probably hang on the wall because they're special to me.
Right.
And we just have to give ourselves permission and follow our heart. I mean, once you might need help figuring out what to wear and what style you want to be, but once you get it, it's just about listening.
I think what it is once you know who you are.
Yeah.
You know, when you are a reflection of the inside out, then you realize you put something on and go, this isn't me anymore. You know, it's like it's wrong for my skin. It's wrong for who I am. And then you put something on and go, yes, this really feels me. And you know, because I'm in transition right now, all of my home is in a pod in storage, which accidentally my summer clothes went into as well. And I have very limited clothes here, and what I seem to have is an awful lot of black and white this year. So I seem to have the black and white theme, and I'm missing some of my favorite colorful skirts because summer is when I love to dress in color. But it's okay. This is what I have right now. I'm just going to have to play with that and maybe pick up 2 or 3 other pieces along the way. But that's okay, because you know, it's what do you feel comfortable in? And I did go to Value Village and pick up 2 or 3 things that were absolutely great because I am on a budget. Love to work with some designers, because one of the things that I think was beginning to change is we talked about, you know, as middle-aged women or older chapters, how we're stepping into new careers, new passions, new everything else. But very often fashion does not reflect that in older people. You know, now you're meant to retire and knit and just walk around in sweatpants or whatever. You know, this is the time that we really want to express ourselves and be who we are. And there's so few designers or clothing stores that allow for the different shaped woman or for the different age woman, because they want to just stereotype you. So designers that are going to dress for our age bracket, the old baby boomers, you know, there's a huge market there for it.
Well, I have to laugh because, I have slender arms and legs, and so camouflage is my friend.
Right.
Most women's clothes, even for mature women, are cut into a waist, and I don't have a waist. So finding something to wear for me, because I don't have the traditional bigger at the bust, smaller at the waist, bigger at the hips, is actually extremely difficult. And my daughter's getting married in June, and I've been looking for 4 weeks now. I have found nothing. I decided I might sew something. I'm not finding any fabric I like, because again, I want to go to a natural fabric and go
to one of your designers.
Maybe.
Yeah, go on. Ask one of your designers. I have the same problem. My daughter's getting married in October. And
Yeah,
so I thought I'd pick something up at the end of the season, and I ordered something online, and when I got it, it was like, what was I thinking?
yeah. I think the other thing I would encourage people to is really when you're starting out, there's nothing wrong with getting help. You know,
Yes.
I worked with a stylist, and while she was with a specific designer, so that saved me a lot of money. You can hire one for an afternoon. They'll go to Value Village with you.
Yes.
And they'll go, you know, if they know your budget. But what they're there to do is show you some options you may not have thought of yourself,
Right.
to try to keep you fresh, to how can you wear the more current styles in a way that work for you. Even if you're young, if you don't have a traditional body, that can be challenging. And go to somebody who can help you pick eyewear. Go to somebody who actually can give you some options in your hair. I never would have picked my hair like this.
Right.
I have fine hair and limp hair, and so I was always told you have to have lots of layers, and after that I did the perm thing. And finally I went to a guy, and my friend, and he said, own your hair. If it's fine and limp, let's cut it for fine limp hair. Instead of fighting it, why don't you work with it?
Right.
Wow, what a weird concept. And
Yes.
so I never would have chosen to go the direction he took me, but some of the pictures are really have proved him right. You know, I stare in the mirror and I see everything wrong. And then you see the pictures from events and you go, no, this was a good choice.
Yeah.
So there has to be a bit of trust, but you have to be a bit brave too and try a few things. And just because we're older doesn't mean we have to hold on to tight control.
No.
Sometimes that's the time you need to let it go. I had one bad haircut. I can't remember who gave it to me. It was right before a trip to Hawaii, and every picture they told me I had to send pictures. I took pictures of my feet, my stomach, my hat, my shadow on the beach. And by the time I got back, it had grown in enough it could be fixed. But it wasn't a waste of time. It was just a chance to try something new.
Yes.
So just we tend to we get fearful as we get older.
Yeah.
We don't need to be fearful.
Right.
We have nothing to prove. And so be brave. Turn left. I always say I have a direction. I always know kind of where I'm going. Like I intend to write, what book do I intend to write once I get this book launched?
Yes. Upside down. Upside down.
Upside down. Mid-May, I should be done with the launch on this one. And I know what I intend to do, but I might turn left again. And if I turn left again, that's all right. It's okay. I look forward to the surprises now instead of fearing them or fighting them. So yeah, I live in the moment. I always have a rough idea of where I'm headed. And the rest of the time, I just one foot in front of the other. And if a barrier comes up, well, divert to left.
Right.
So I like to call it turning left. I love turning left because there's a surprise waiting for me. It's a door to be opened, and surprise, you win what's behind door 3.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
it's always the universe has something fabulous in store for you. So be brave. Accept your traits, your uniqueness, because they're your strengths. You're exactly who you've meant to be. Be open to opening a new door. Just keep your eyes open. Something wonderful is waiting for you.
Yes.
And all you have to do is get up every morning and put one foot in front of the other. You know, just know roughly where you're headed and embrace it. It's meant to be, and it's what a freeing time of life.
Yes. Would you say that from all the stories that you've told, that might be one of the most common denominators for everybody? They embraced their redirect. They allowed things to happen. They stopped being so self-judgmental or insecure, which that judgment comes from that. And they just were willing to take the road. And in that self-discovery of who they are, then embraced that purpose or, that chapter that they were in right now. Would you say that's helped you on your journey of life?
Absolutely. And what they've taught me is that I'm going to say think outside the box. And that's the name of my first book, so it's a little cliche. Ruthie Davis worked for 3 companies first before she launched her luxury shoe design. And she didn't really know how to market luxury shoe design. So for her launch, she hung her shoes in an art gallery.
I love it.
Gary Ness had no money. He took 5 years to create his perfume, and then nobody would stock it because he had no marketing budget. And he was nobody. So he talked Nordstrom's into giving him 3 months. So he got a suit and a red carpet from a garage sale for $5, set it up with his acting thing, and had a friend. This is pre-digital. Had a friend come with a camera. They couldn't even afford film and pretend to take pictures. And he had a lineup and sold out in an hour.
Right.
Most of the people I know Lisa Marie Mizuko met her husband, and he was leaving town, and she says, I'm going. They hardly knew each other. And she did hair, makeup, and styling for him. They traveled together. And then one day she says, nope, I'm staying home. And she picked up a camera and became a photographer for classical musicians. Like, they're never afraid to try something different. So when I had my first book launch, everybody said, well, you're going to sit and sign books, right? And I said, no, I would be bored.
Yes.
And so I found a place for free that had a stage. I had to pay for the technicians, and I got a burlesque dancer, a drag queen, a Tahitian dancer, a singing duet, an African drummer and dancer, and had people come, and we had entertainment, and we had little breaks to introduce people, but we had a party.
Yeah.
Party. And that suited me. So I think it's more than being willing to turn left. I think it's just, they gave me permission to think about what I was doing differently. Just because the normal book launch says,
yes,
people come and you read from your book. I didn't read from my book.
Right.
You read from your book and you sit and sell copies behind a desk. Didn't mean I had to do that. And the people that inspire me, the people that also don't think like that, they say, okay, I'm gonna launch a new shoe line. What do I want to do?
Right.
William Orlowski was with his dystonia. He was a tap dancer and a choreographer, and he was being really limited because he couldn't work the long hours that was required to get jobs. So he taught blind kids how to tap. He created theater for seniors that they took into seniors' home. He started Japanese watercolor painting. He just turned left.
Yes, exactly.
And,
exactly.
and he did it without apology. I want to be busy, so that door is not working. So what's door B? What's door C? So people have inspired me to stop thinking inside such rigid expectations. What am I supposed to wear? What am I supposed to do at this age? What should I be like as a mother? What should I be like when I'm out? I just don't have those expectations anymore. Instead, it's more about what feels right and honest for me. Because if I quit being honest and try to act in another way, I come across as really dumb. I don't pretend well. I don't act well. And so if I can act from a place of honesty, then it works well.
That's your authenticity. And that's what we're asking people to be. We're asking people to be authentic, to be genuine, to be yourself. Because I like the saying, be yourself, everybody else is taken. And it's very apropos because, while we're so busy trying to be that image or that perfection, that, we're tearing ourselves apart. When you just accept yourself for who you are and love yourself for who you are in all your beautiful imperfections, those beautiful imperfections is what makes us unique. What makes us who we are. I'm not meant to be that person. I am me. And again, you can love me or not love me. I'm not going to be offended, but I'm not going to compromise me. And I don't know about you, but it took me one hell of a long time to give my permission to be me.
It took me a long time too. And what I have begun to add to that, because I'm always telling you are who you're meant to be, is I tell people that doesn't mean you're not trying to be the best you.
Right.
It's not an excuse to be unkind and say everything on your mind. It's not an excuse to be less than you can be, because some people use that as I'm just an honest person, and they say hateful things. So
yes, that's ownership.
You are exactly who you're meant to be. You're not always meant to say everything on your mind, and your journey is to become the best version of you. And so, you are going to learn, you are going to improve, and you are going to grow. It doesn't mean you're at this point, but you taking all those potential things and planting them in a garden and watering them and feeding them and watching them become. So suddenly, I mean, this is my journey with fashion has been 10 years. And in the last 2, people are calling me a fashion icon.
Right.
I know. Who knew? Because I'm the one who started out at events with my hair cut by my husband.
Right.
Shoe rack shoes and Zeller clothing. I had no idea what looked good on me, and I made a lot of mistakes. So I've grown into that. The seed I planted and I nurtured and I worked with people, and has grown to bear fruit. That's lovely.
Yeah.
But with all humility, I wouldn't be there without the gardeners helping me.
Precisely. Precisely. And that's the important thing, isn't it? Is that the people that help us along the way. And when you talk about the authenticity of it, if you are treating yourself with love and kindness and caring, that is what you're going to reflect out. You wouldn't think of being cruel to someone else.
Yes.
Because because you know what love and kindness means. You know how caring it, it's really putting yourself in the way that you would like to be received, and what you would like to receive back.
Yes.
So if you're going to be nasty, expect nasty back. If you put out kindness and caring, that's what you're going to get back.
Yes.
So, that's the authenticity. We don't want you to step into an image of what you think you should be.
Yes.
Step into who you really feel you are. And that's really the beauty of being who you are and understanding your gift.
And
And
becoming the
every
best
somebody has one, right?
and becoming the best you can be.
Absolutely. And again, I'm not good enough. Put that crap away. You are absolutely awesome today. And guess what? You might be even more awesome tomorrow. Or tomorrow might be a down day and you don't feel so good. It's okay. It's okay.
My mentor, who's mentioned a lot in my next book, Sue Dumais, said one time, I'm trying to remember the exact words, but basically, there's only one of you.
Mm-hmm.
You're exactly who you meant to be, and you're here for a reason that nobody else but you can fulfill.
Absolutely.
Are you brave enough to fulfill your purpose? Because it's not anybody else's but you, and that's why we're not all the same. We're meant to feel a cog in a machine that only works if we all step in and do it.
Right. And the thing is you're doing what I'm doing. I'm doing it through radio and through video, and you are doing it through books and various other means. We're both on a parallel path. We're both celebrating other people's journeys, but you do it in your style. I do it in my style. So that doesn't mean, well, there's somebody already doing it. No, it's like the colors of the rainbow. There's variations of color, and people are going to hone into the one that speaks to them. So it's, don't be intimidated that somebody else is already doing it, or there maybe you think doing it better. Go and do you, go and be you. And that will be how you're meant to do it.
If you're being really true to yourself,
yes,
and you feel led to do something, you will bring something unique to the table.
Yes.
And you will reach people that other people are not reaching, because the way you share it and the way you do it is in line with what they need. People who are led to me are led because of who I am and what I have to share. There are people that I am not their cup of tea.
Exactly.
And I've learned that's okay.
Yes.
They have other people in their life that they're led to. The other thing that Sue said, and I know we're getting there time-wise, is that I worried because I was struggling to produce that next book.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to her, and she said another thing very profound that I think most people need to hear in it. And that was, I see wings. I see wings. She said, you're ready to fly.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, and more than that, you're ready and the world's ready for you.
Right.
And I still get, like, I'm getting a physical reaction from that. So you're ready to fly.
You've grown into
you
yourself.
have to start flapping your wings, but
Yes.
more than that, you are ready to fly, and the world is ready for you too. Right. And if you don't fulfill your purpose, it doesn't get fulfilled. It's for you to do. So you're important. I think most of us don't feel very important.
Mm-hmm.
We sort of feel like if we don't do our job, the world's gonna just putter along. And the concept that we each have a place to fulfill was very, very uplifting for me, I guess, because if I have something to do, I'm willing to do it. So I have something to do. Somebody has told me I have something to do. So I'm telling you, the audience, you have something to do. And if you don't do it, nobody will. And you are made the way you are specifically to fulfill that role. So if you don't know what it is, it's time to start looking around and seeing what doors are open, and maybe turn left a few times till it becomes more clear. But you just plant the seeds of who you are and water them, and the opportunity will come. And surround yourself by positive people that are going, yeah, I know you can do it. And
a little self-discovery. I mean, that's the beauty of life. It's not about our destination, it's about our journey. And that little self-discovery of, who, and also doing something from the heart. Most certainly when you do it from the heart and you understand that purpose, then really then it just becomes a how. What, know why. It now just becomes a how. And it's, don't dictate, just allow. And be open to receive, and the people around you that will guide you and nurture you. And the next thing you know, you're doing it and you go, wow, I didn't know A, I could do it, and B, look at the impact that I'm having.
Yeah.
Sorry, that is my reminder of the next show coming up. So yes, you're
Oh yeah,
well,
I keep an eye on it. I just honestly, if you're pursuing your passion, the only thing that's required is to get up every morning and take one step
yeah.
and follow it with another step. It's really that simple. It's not always easy, but it is that simple. But yeah, we love to hold ourselves back. We love the little tapes in our head
Yeah.
to do that, and you have to just turn that inner tape off sometimes.
Yes. Ignore it. It's got nothing to say.
Yeah.
But you certainly have something to say, and you certainly got it to say in this book. So show the book again.
Okay.
Sorry, audio audience.
I want to say this should be, we're doing an online launch probably mid-May, 10th to 15th, I'm guessing. It's in typesetting. So I will, on my website, put up a link to the Facebook event page. I would love your support if you feel you want to buy it. If you buy it on launch day, it helps me make bestseller status, which really improves algorithms. But it's going to be available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, all the online. I'm focusing on online right now. So if you go to my website at MarilynRWilson.com, a little closer to them, you'll see I'll put a poster up on the main page. If you want to do something right away, you can also go there and give me your email address, and I will send you out a reminder and a link about it.
And then it's also Facebook is Marilyn R. Wilson Writer.
Yes.
And they'll find you there as well.
And it will be posted there as well.
Right. And of course, we have the book showing up here, and we will let everybody know exactly when it is coming out. But, folks, we learn from other people's wisdom. That's what it's all about. So please do tap in and get this book, because inspiration is invitation. It shows us that somebody else could do it against all odds. And so you kind of start looking at your odds and going, are these self-imposed? Are these odds that I can overcome if I choose to? I can work through it, because when somebody else has done it, you can, and we can. That's what the journey of life is all about. So MarilynRWilson.com. Get out and can they pre-order the book?
Unfortunately, no. Amazon used to let you pre-order the book, and they have taken that option away now.
Oh,
that's why you do a launch day.
Mm-hmm.
It's the alternative. So I'll have a Facebook event page. Everybody will get reminders. You can, again, give me your email on the website. I don't send out hardly any emails from the website, and I'll have a sale price going on launch day, and you can just order. It'll come right to you. And then for people in the Vancouver Lower Mainland, I'm going to do some personal appearances starting about 2 weeks later, so you can bring your book and enjoy an event and get it signed by me.
Yes, enjoy the party.
And get a hug of thank you from me.
Mm-hmm. Nice, very, very nice. Well, it's been a delight to have you back again. And folks, when you look at the posting, you'll see that Marilyn was on with me a few years ago.
Yes.
So you can go back and listen to that story that was more about the writing side of things. And so another beautiful story from her. It's very inspiring to see your leaps and bounds and your expression, the fashion and everything else that you've gone into, and the fact that you do not limit yourself. Unlimited Marilyn. And I'm looking forward to seeing where you're going next, and because it's very, very inspiring. And, folks, do not write us off because we're over 50. We've still got plenty to give. Okay, come and join in, because we actually know now what's worthwhile putting our energy into and what isn't. So if we're doing it, it's worthwhile.
Yep. I agree. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I really enjoy talking to you again.
Oh, it's a delight having you back. And as I said, I enjoy following you and seeing what you're doing, and truly an inspiration. So folks, please don't sell yourself short. You can. You've just got to be willing to and allow it. Okay? Dream the dream. Go after it. Until next time, folks. Bye for now. For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.